The alien vessel drifted like a shadow on the edge of the solar system. Its long body shimmered with green energy, curved like a blade cutting through darkness. Inside, the command deck was filled with strange sounds, low humming, clicking, and the hiss of alien speech. Commander Varen stood tall at the center. His body was long and sharp, his skin like black stone, and his yellow eyes glowed with fire. Around him, his officers worked at glowing consoles, their clawed fingers tapping on living crystal screens. 4 days, they had studied Earth. They watched the humans live in peace, weak and unaware. They saw no fleets, no heavy defenses, only scattered patrol ships and satellites. It was the perfect prey. But now, the strange signal from the scrapyard broke the silence. Varen turned to his officer. "Explain." The officer bent low. "Old human code, Commander. A call from one of the broken warships." Varen laughed, a deep and sharp sound. "These humans are pathetic. They hide behind their dead machines. They keep their old fleet like toys for children. Do they think we will be afraid of rust?" The crew laughed with him, their voices harsh and metallic. But not everyone joined. One young sensor officer looked uneasy. His green eyes blinked fast as he studied his screen. "Commander," he said carefully, "the signal is strong. Too strong for a ship without power. Something inside is awake." The laughter stopped. Varen's smile faded into a cold line. He walked to the officer's console, his claws scraping across the metal floor. On the screen, pulses of energy glowed, one, then another, then another. Each pulse came from a different ship in the scrapyard. Varen's jaw tightened. "How many?" The officer swallowed. "At least 30, no, 40. And the number is rising." The command deck went silent. Far behind them, more alien ships were waiting. An entire invasion fleet of dark vessels hung in deep space, hidden among asteroids. Thousands of soldiers waited in their cold armor, ready to strike Earth. But even among them, rumors spread quickly. Ships that had been dead for a century were waking. Old war machines of steel and fury were lighting up again. "Do you believe it?" One alien soldier whispered to another. "That human ships live again." "Lies," his comrade replied. "Scrap cannot fight. This is just noise." Yet their voices shook, and their claws trembled. On Earth, human defense stations burned with activity. Operators shouted, alarms rang, and screens filled with impossible numbers. 72 ships, 81, 95, a young officer cried. The commander of Earth's orbital watch stood pale. "That scrapyard has no fuel, no crew, no systems. So why are they alive?" No one answered. Across the planet, news channels flashed with breaking headlines. "Old fleet awakens above Earth. Dead ships alive. Mystery in orbit." Civilians looked to the night sky. The dark ring above Earth was glowing with hundreds of lights, each one a warship's reactor burning again after a century of silence. Children asked, "Papa, who turned them on?" And no parent had an answer. Back in the alien flagship, Varen bared his teeth. "It is nothing," he said coldly. "Old systems, confused and broken. They will fall when we strike." But deep inside, even he felt a shadow of doubt. "Commander," the young sensor officer said again, his voice low. "There is more. The ships are aligning. They are not random. They are forming a battle line." Varen froze. Ships without crews should drift like corpses. They should not move with purpose. But the screen showed the truth. The old human fleet was turning together, slow but steady, like an army ready to fight. "Impossible," Varen whispered. "Who commands them?" In the silence of space, the old fleet pulsed with life. Ship after ship lit up, their broken hulls glowing with ancient power. Engines rumbled, weapons turned, and targeting systems locked into place. The great battleship Eternal Vigil stood at the center, its massive frame burning with blue light. Around it, destroyers and cruisers moved like loyal soldiers. No words, no voices, only silent unity. Together, they aimed at the alien vessel. The alien crew trembled as their sensors screamed. Dozens of targeting locks painted their hull. Warning lights flashed red. The ship's own systems hissed in panic. "Commander," the second officer said quickly, "they have marked us. They see us." Varen's eyes burned. He felt the weight of the past pressing against him, the weight of old human wars, stories of fleets that fought until the last ship fell. For the first time, he understood. These were not just machines. These were ghosts of war. Varen lifted his head, forcing his voice to remain strong. Signal the fleet. Prepare the invasion. If humans dare wake their bones, then we will crush both the living and the dead. His officers roared in answer, though their eyes betrayed fear. Outside the window, the scrapyard no longer looked like trash. It looked like a sleeping beast, opening its eyes for the first time in a century. And in that moment, even Commander Varen felt a chill crawl across his stone-like skin. On Earth, civilians and soldiers alike watched in silence as the old fleet aligned itself. For the first time in living memory, people whispered old words again, words their ancestors had once spoken in the fires of war. They are not obsolete. They are guardians. And above Earth, the guardians prepared to fight once more. The scrapyard was no longer silent. Engines that had been cold for 100 years now glowed with fire. Cannons, rusted and broken, moved with new strength. Screens inside old bridges flickered to life. Dust fell from ceilings as machines shook themselves awake. The old fleet was rising. The massive battleship Eternal Vigil stood like a titan at the center. Its steel hull was cracked, its armor full of scars, but its heart burned bright. Around it, destroyers and cruisers moved into formation. The scrapyard, once a graveyard of steel, was now an army preparing for war. On Earth, defense stations were filled with shouting voices. Impossible! They have no crews. Sir, the fleet is moving on its own. They are lining toward the alien vessel. The commander of orbital defense stared at the screens, his face pale. Who gave the order? He whispered. No one answered. No orders had been given. The ships were not being controlled by humans. They were controlling themselves. The young operator spoke again, his voice shaking. Sir, it's like they remember. In space, the alien flagship watched in silence. Commander Varen's yellow eyes narrowed. He had seen human weapons before, had fought their fleets in distant sectors. But this was different. These ships were ancient, yet they moved with purpose, with unity. His second officer whispered, they act as if they are alive. Alive. Varen spat. They are machines. Ghosts in metal. Yet even as he said it, he could not deny the fear crawling through his veins. The human fleet formed a wall of steel between Earth and the alien vessel. Their cannons, though old, pointed directly at him. Inside the Eternal Vigil, systems that had not worked in decades suddenly roared to life. Main reactor online. Primary weapons charged. Targeting complete. The ship's old computer, full of battle code written by long-dead humans, reawakened. Memories of wars fought long ago replayed in its circuits. Commands, strategies, and battle cries echoed in its data. The ship remembered. And it was ready to fight again. On Earth, people gathered in the streets, staring up at the night sky. To the naked eye, the scrapyard now glowed like a second constellation above the planet. Children pointed at the lights. Soldiers whispered in disbelief. One old veteran, watching from a balcony, spoke with tears in his eyes. They are awake. The old guardians are awake. The alien commander gave the order. Forward scouts, attack. Test their strength. 3 sleek alien warships broke formation and shot toward the scrapyard. Their engines screamed, glowing green as they closed in. Each one carried weapons far beyond human technology, fast, sharp, merciless. The galaxy had learned to fear this firepower. But the old fleet did not flinch. As the alien ships entered range, 5 ancient cruisers turned together. Their targeting systems locked on. Their cannons fired beams of light, slower than modern weapons, heavier, raw with power. The shots tore across the void. One alien scout ship exploded instantly, burning into pieces. The second twisted away but was clipped, half its hull ripped apart. The third managed to dodge, but even it trembled as shockwaves shook its frame. The scrapyard cheered in silence. In the alien flagship, panic filled the command deck. They destroyed our scouts. With old weapons. They should not be able to move like this. Varen roared, slamming his claw into the console. Silence. One lucky strike does not win a war. But deep down, he knew it was not luck. Those ships fought with precision. With memory. With rage. Back on Earth, humans gasped as the live feeds reached them. Cameras on satellites captured the impossible sight, dead ships fighting like living beasts. Civilians cheered. Children screamed with joy. Scientists cried. The old fleet, it protects us still. Yet the defense commanders were not celebrating. They watched carefully, their minds racing. Who controlled those ships? Why had they woken now, at this exact moment? Questions had no answers. The Eternal Vigil sent out another signal. A message, repeated across human channels, written in code from a century ago. Do not fear. We still fight. Every human soldier who read it stood frozen. Some saluted instinctively, as if answering to a superior long dead. In space, the alien invasion fleet finally moved. Hundreds of sharp green warships broke from their hiding places and formed a dark wall across the stars. They were fast, powerful, and deadly. Commander Varen raised his hand. Begin the assault. Crush their bones. Show them they are obsolete. The alien fleet advanced. But the old fleet did not retreat. The scrapyard, once forgotten, was now a fortress. Every ship aligned, every cannon charged, every engine burned. The stars above Earth trembled with the light of two armies preparing to collide. And in that silence before the storm, the old steel whispered its truth to the universe. We are not obsolete. We are eternal. The awakening was complete. The void of space burned with green fire. The alien armada surged forward, hundreds of sleek warships, sharp as blades, engines glowing with deadly light. Their formation was perfect, their discipline absolute. The galaxy had fallen to this fleet before, world after world crushed beneath their weapons. And now, they came for Earth. At the other side, the old fleet waited. Rusted hulls, scarred armor, broken plating, but alive. Their engines glowed blue, slow but steady. Their cannons, older than any living human, rotated into position. They were not fast. They were not modern. But they stood like a wall between Earth and its hunters. The battle began. The alien ships fired first. Green beams cut across the darkness, slicing through space like lightning. Explosions shook the scrapyard as several small frigates of the old fleet were struck. Armor cracked, steel broke, and debris scattered. See! Commander Varen hissed from the alien flagship. Their bones cannot stand against us. But his smile faded when the old fleet answered. Dozens of cannons roared, firing beams of raw energy. They were slower than alien weapons, less precise, but they carried brute force. One alien destroyer vanished in a fireball. Another was split in half, burning as its crew screamed in silence. The old fleet did not hesitate. They fought like predators unleashed. On Earth, billions watched the live feeds. Entire cities gathered in silence before giant screens, staring as the heavens lit up with war. A child pointed and asked, "Papa, why do the old ships fight for us?" His father whispered, voice shaking, "Because they remember." The battle grew fierce. Alien squadrons broke through the first line of human cruisers, their green beams carving holes into rusted armor. Several human ships exploded, their bodies torn apart, but even in death they bought time. Then came the counter. A group of ancient destroyers moved together, side by side, their engines pushing beyond safe limits. They charged into the heart of the alien formation. Alien ships turned their guns, laughing at the foolish move, until the destroyers fired at point-blank range. The blasts tore through 3 alien vessels instantly, leaving nothing but burning wrecks. One destroyer was lost, its body shattered, but the others pulled back, scarred but alive. Sacrifice. Strategy. Fury. The old fleet fought like they had minds of their own. Inside Earth's orbital command, officers shouted. They're using old human battle tactics. But who is giving orders? No answer came. The fleet moved with unity, with precision, but without human control. It was as if the ships themselves remembered the wars they had once fought, and refused to lose again. On the alien flagship, panic spread through the crew. "Commander, their formations are perfect. They anticipate our strikes. This is not possible." Varen's claws dug into his chair. "They are just machines. We will overwhelm them with numbers. Press forward." The alien fleet obeyed, surging with more firepower. Wave after wave of green beams smashed into the old fleet. More human ships burned, their broken hulls falling silent forever. But every time one ship fell, 2 more answered with fire. The scrapyard was bleeding, but it was not breaking. The Eternal Vigil finally moved. For hours it had stood silent at the center, its massive frame like a mountain of steel. But now, the giant battleship came alive. Engines roared with ancient power, weapons glowed with fire, and its long shadow stretched across the stars. Every alien sensor screamed warnings as the Eternal Vigil turned its cannons toward them. Its guns were enormous, older than anything the galaxy still used. They had been built for wars no one remembered, wars of extinction. Targeting lock, complete, the ship's computer whispered in old human code. Then the cannons fired. The blast was like thunder in space. A beam of energy larger than any alien ship tore forward, cutting through the invasion fleet. 5 alien vessels were destroyed in an instant. The shockwave ripped apart another 3, scattering their burning remains. The aliens froze. For the first time in generations, they felt true fear. On Earth, the skies lit up. The beam from the Eternal Vigil shone so bright it could be seen from the surface, a streak of light across the heavens. Civilians gasped, cried, and cheered. "The giant has awakened," someone shouted. And the name spread like fire across the planet. Eternal Vigil. The last guardian. But the battle was far from over. Commander Varen roared in rage. "Focus all fire on the giant. Bring it down." Dozens of alien ships turned their weapons, unleashing green storms toward the Eternal Vigil. The giant shuddered as beams tore into its scarred armor. Hull plates cracked, sections burned, alarm screamed across its decks. Still, it did not fall. Still, it fought. Its cannons fired again, destroying more alien ships. Around it, smaller human vessels formed a shield wall, taking hits to protect their leader. One by one, they died, but they did not retreat. The old fleet would not let the giant stand alone. Back in the alien flagship, silence spread as officers watched the slaughter. Their numbers were greater, their technology superior, but the old fleet fought with something they did not understand. Memory. Will. Rage. Varen's yellow eyes burned with fury, but in his heart, for the first time, he felt doubt. "What are these machines?" he whispered. The battle raged on. Rust clashed with firepower, steel against speed. Aliens screamed as their ships fell. Humans cheered as their guardians held the line. And in the middle of it all, the Eternal Vigil stood tall, its guns blazing, its scars burning bright, a symbol of a truth no one could deny. Obsolete to humans. Unstoppable to aliens. The war had only just begun. The battle burned across the void. Alien warships swarmed like a storm of blades, their green beams cutting through the darkness. Human ships of the old fleet, scarred and rusted, fought back with brutal force. Dozens were gone already, but dozens more still burned with fury. And at the center of it all, the giant finally moved. The Eternal Vigil. For hours, it had stood in silence, watching as its smaller brothers fought and died around it. But now, the ancient titan unleashed its full strength. Its engines roared like thunder, shaking the battlefield. Its massive frame, longer than cities, taller than towers, glowed with blue fire. It was no longer a broken relic. It was a god of war. On Earth, billions of eyes watched the heavens. Screens across cities showed the giant's awakening. Its first strike, a beam that split the stars, replayed again and again. People whispered its name, a name long forgotten but suddenly alive again. Eternal Vigil. The last guardian. Children cried in wonder. Soldiers saluted in silence. Civilians knelt and prayed. And in the orbital command station, one officer spoke with awe. It was never obsolete. It was only waiting. In the alien flagship, panic gripped the crew. "Commander, the giant has destroyed 12 of our warships. Its firepower is beyond our calculations. We cannot close distance." Varen's stone-like face twisted in rage. His yellow eyes burned like fire. "Do not fear a corpse dressed in steel," he roared. "Focus all fire. Break it apart." Dozens of alien ships obeyed. Their beams slammed into the Eternal Vigil, burning its armor, tearing scars deeper into its body. Metal screamed. Armor cracked. Explosions shook its decks. But the giant did not fall. Its cannons fired again, massive beams of ancient power that tore through the alien lines. Entire squadrons vanished in seconds, ripped apart by weapons older than the invader's empire. Inside the Eternal Vigil, there were no living crew. Yet the ship was alive. Its computers ran battle code written by humans long dead. Its circuits glowed with memory. Voices of the past echoed in its systems, whispers of captains and soldiers who had once stood here. Hold the line. Protect Earth. Never surrender. The ship remembered every battle it had ever fought. And it would not stop now. On Earth, one scientist leaned forward, pale with shock. "It cannot be." These ships have no AI, no advanced cores. They should not fight alone. Another whispered, almost afraid, then maybe it is not programming. Maybe it is something else. Something we cannot explain. The room fell silent. Back in space, alien ships tried to retreat, but the Eternal Vigil blocked their escape. It moved slowly, yet with terrifying purpose, sliding into their path like a wall of iron. Its cannons rotated, locking onto the largest alien cruiser. Target acquired, its ancient systems whispered. The blast that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. A single beam, wide as a city street, smashed into the cruiser and vaporized it in an instant. Shockwaves spread across the battlefield, sending smaller alien ships spinning into chaos. The aliens screamed in silence as their vessels exploded, one after another. Fear spread like poison. Commander Varen gripped his chair, claws shaking. He had fought 100 wars, crushed 100 worlds, but never had he felt this. "This is not possible," he whispered. "No ship should endure such fire. No ship should fight without a crew." One of his officers, voice trembling, spoke. "Commander, this is not a ship. It is a ghost." Varen struck him down with a single slash of his claw, but the words remained. The Eternal Vigil pressed forward, tearing deeper into the alien lines. Around it, surviving human ships followed, fighting with renewed strength. Even broken and rusted, they fought like wolves beside their alpha. Every alien vessel destroyed made the invaders weaker. Every blast from the giant spread more fear. For the first time, the alien fleet wavered. On Earth, cheers erupted as news spread. The aliens are retreating. The giant is forcing them back. Crowds filled the streets, waving flags, shouting with joy, crying with relief. The whole world watched as their forgotten guardians stood between them and destruction. But in command, leaders were not celebrating. "Why now?" one asked softly. "Why awaken after 100 years?" No one answered. Commander Varen gave the order at last. "All ships, pull back. Retreat to the outer system." His voice shook with rage, but also with fear. He knew staying longer would mean total destruction. The alien fleet began to fall back, retreating in broken lines, their once proud formation shattered. But as they turned, the Eternal Vigil fired one last time. The beam struck the alien flagship's flank, ripping through its shields, tearing a gaping wound across its hull. Alarms screamed. Varen's crew shouted in panic. But the ship did not die. It limped away, scarred and burning, but alive. Varen's yellow eyes glared back at the giant, hate burning in them. "This is not over," he whispered. "Not while I still breathe." In orbit, the battlefield fell silent. The alien fleet was gone, retreating into the dark. Only wreckage remained, burning ships, drifting debris, and the silent guardians that had protected Earth once more. The old fleet floated in formation, victorious but scarred. Many ships were gone, their remains scattering like ashes in the void. But the survivors still stood, engines glowing, weapons ready. And at their center, the Eternal Vigil remained. Its lights flickered softly, as if in silent thought. Its cannons glowed with the heat of battle. Its frame, broken and scarred, stood like a mountain unbroken. The forgotten giant had returned. On Earth, whispers spread across the world. "They saved us. They fought without us. Are they alive?" And above them, the giant did not answer. It only watched. Waiting. The battlefield was quiet. Where hours ago green fire had cut across the void, now only drifting wreckage remained. Alien ships burned in silence, their broken frames glowing faintly as they floated into the dark. Human ships, old, rusted, scarred, stood victorious, though many were gone. The old fleet had paid in steel and fire. But Earth was safe. At the center of the survivors, the Eternal Vigil floated like a wounded titan. Its armor was cracked, entire sections destroyed, but its heart still burned with blue fire. Its cannons glowed faintly, cooling after their last devastating shot. The forgotten giant had held the line. On Earth, the world erupted in joy. Crowds filled the streets. Bells rang in cities. Screens replayed the battle again and again, alien ships exploding, human relics rising, the giant's cannon splitting the sky with light. Children shouted the giant's name. Soldiers saluted toward the heavens. Civilians wept with relief. They had seen their guardians return. But in command stations and quiet rooms, leaders whispered to each other in fear. Why did they wake? Who controls them? What are they now? No one had answers. In deep space, far from Earth, the alien fleet licked its wounds. Commander Varen sat on his broken flagship, his yellow eyes burning with hate. His officers whispered behind him, their voices shaking. They say the humans resurrect their dead ships. They say steel obeys their will, even after centuries. They say their ghosts fight beside them. Fear spread faster than orders. Soldiers who once believed humans weak now trembled at the thought of their fleets of the dead. Varen clenched his claws. "This is not over," he hissed. "We will return. Next time, even their ghosts will fall." But in his heart, even he was not sure. Back in Earth's orbit, silence lingered. The old fleet held formation. No messages came from them, no voices, no signals except one, an ancient human code, repeating over and over. "We still stand." Defense commanders tried to hail them. No response. Scientists sent probes. No entry was allowed. The ships fired warning shots at anything that came too close. They were not hostile. They were not friendly. They were simply waiting. A group of human engineers was brought to the edge of the scrapyard. Their shuttle floated near the Eternal Vigil, its enormous frame filling the sky like a steel mountain. The engineers stared in awe. "This ship is older than all of us," one whispered. "Yet it moves, it fights, as if it remembers." The shuttle broadcast a simple question. "Who woke you?" For a long moment, there was nothing. Only silence, broken by the crackling of damaged systems. Then, the giant's lights flickered. One by one, its windows glowed like watching eyes. And though no voice came, every human on that shuttle felt it, an answer in the silence. Not words. Not code. Something older, something deeper. The feeling was clear. We woke ourselves. On Earth, the question spread across the planet. Are they alive? Are they machines? Or something more? Do we control them, or do they choose to fight for us? Philosophers, soldiers, and scientists argued, but none could explain. Some called them ghosts of war. Some called them guardians. Some called them proof that humanity itself had left an imprint on steel, that the will to survive had burned so deep, even machines could not forget. That night, as Earth celebrated, the old fleet did not rest. Their engines glowed faintly. Their formations shifted slowly, like soldiers standing guard. The Eternal Vigil moved to the front, its scarred hull towering above the others. It faced the stars, as if watching the path the aliens had taken when they fled. Waiting. Watching. Guarding. Far away, the alien empire shook with fear. Rumors spread across their worlds, rumors of dead ships rising, of human steel that would not die. Even those who had never seen Earth now whispered, "Do not fight humans. Their ships remember." The legend had begun. On Earth, an old veteran stood on a balcony, staring at the glowing scrapyard above. He had fought in wars long past, had lost comrades, had buried friends. With tears in his eyes, he whispered softly, "You were never obsolete. You were always ours." The old fleet gave no answer. But as the night deepened, the Eternal Vigil's lights flickered once more. A pulse of blue fire traveled across its hull, spreading through the fleet like a heartbeat. Thump. 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 Earth slept. The aliens fled. And the Guardians waited in silence. Obsolete to humans. Unstoppable to aliens. The day Earth's old fleet awoke was only the beginning.